The cold steel dug into Jack Harlan's wrists like the first frost of autumn. His eyes fluttered open to the flicker of lantern light, casting eerie shadows across walls he knew too well, his own cabin in the rugged hills of Montana, 1888. But something was off. The air tasted bitter, laced with the remnants of chloroform on his tongue. Two women sat at his pine table, helping themselves to his stew as if they owned the place. The younger one had sun-kissed skin and auburn hair cascading like a waterfall, her every movement graceful yet guarded. Her sister, older and tougher, eyed him with a stare that could chill bourbon on a summer night. "You're up," the elder said, her voice sharp as a switchblade. Jack tested the chain's solid ones, the kind he bought to safeguard his silver from thieves just like him. "Who the hell are you?" he rasped. "Sophia," she replied, though he didn't know it yet. That name would carve itself into his soul by morning. And we know about the silver, Jack Harlan. What unfolded next would challenge every lesson the frontier had drilled into him about loyalty, lust, and the razor edge between redemption and ruin. 3 years of isolation had worn Jack down. 3 years since Emily slipped away in his arms, her illness stealing the softness from his world. 3 years of muttering to cattle and drowning nights in rye. In Montana's unforgiving terrain, complacency was a death sentence. "Your pa was my partner," Jack said, probing carefully. The chains let him sit up, no more. "Carlos Rivera. Solid guy." Sophia's voice cracked like thunder. She rose, her frame tall and wiry, curves hinting at Mexican heritage and endless trails. The revolver on her belt gleamed, well worn from use. "Don't say his name like you were friends." Mia shifted behind her sister, gentler in every way, but Sophia was fierce. Her skirt bore the marks of dusty campsites and sleepless rides, but it hugged her form in a way that parched Jack's throat. She was young, maybe 20, with eyes that had witnessed too much horror too early. "He mentioned you," Mia murmured. "Said you pulled him out of jam once, up in Idaho." "Twice," Jack amended. "But who's keeping score?" The slap stung like a hornet, Sophia's hand connecting with his jaw. The crack echoed in the tight space, but her palm hovered a second too long, trembling against his stubble. "He tasted copper as blood. You sold him out," she hissed. "Stole our father's silver and left him to rot." Jack licked his lip. "Your pa was dipping into the Silverton Mining Company's Hull 40 grand in pure or headed for the U.S. Mint. I didn't betray him. I tried to pull him back from the brink." "Liar. Check the bureau," seconded her down. "There's a telegram draft." Mia glided to the bureau, her steps smooth as river stones. She pulled the paper, unsealed, and read in a quivering tone. "Sheriff Harlan, Carlos Rivera ain't your real target. He's a pawn for the Blackwood outfit, moving their lifted silver. Nab him, and you're playing their game. He's decent folk tangled in filth. Let him turn state's evidence on the true crooks." The draft fluttered down like dead leaves. "You never sent it," Sophia accused, her fire dimming just a notch. "No." Jack held her gaze. "Because 2 days prior, your pa pitched me one final score. Said it'd bankroll a haven for his daughters, beyond the law's reach." The cabin fell silent save for the wind howling at the eaves and the crackle of the hearth. Sophia slumped into her chair, looking decades older than her 25 years. "He whispered your name with his last breath, said you turned him in. Men spout nonsense on death's door. Most ain't worth spit." Mia knelt by his side, close enough for him to catch the scent of pine on her skin, the grit of the trail. "Where's the silver, Jack?" Her words were velvet and venom, the sort that coax confessions from the damned. "Buried," he said. "Safe from all, even me some days." Sophia leaned in, her blouse parting at the neck, exposing a tiny gold locket that snagged the fire's glow. "Pa claimed you had a map to Union silver, stashed in the Rockies." Jack nearly chuckled. Your pa spun tall tales. But her tilted head and piercing eyes stirred something in Hima's spark of kinship The gaze of a woman who'd inherited her father's cunning and grit. No Union Hall, but something bigger, something he died shielding. The gale outside intensified, bearing the chill of impending snow and a distant wolf's cry. Mia edged nearer, her hand brushing his arm, sending jolts like lightning perilous in ways unrelated to her holster. "What?" she breathed. Before Jack could spill, Sophia's head whipped to the window, her fingers curling around her peacemaker. "Riders," she whispered, closing in quick. Hoofbeats thundered over the frozen earth, mingled with the clink of bits and rough voices of men hardened by pursuit. Mia's grip tightened on Jack's sleeve. "Marshals." "Worse." Sophia doused the lantern. "Bounty killers." In the pitch black, Jack heard his door splinter under a boot. The first bullet shredded the frame inches from Sophia's skull. She dove left, yanking Mia behind the sturdy maple table Jack had hewn a decade back solid enough to blunt lead. "Harlan!" A voice boomed from the night, laced with smug command. "We know you're harboring M. Hand over the Rivera sisters, and we walk away clean." Jack rattled his bonds against the bedpost. He hissed at Mia. "Right pocket my coat." She paused, her eyes probing his in the sporadic flashes from gunfire, hunting for deceit the flaw that doomed her father. "Trust me," Jack urged, and damn if he didn't mean it deeper than he expected. Her fingers delved in, warm against his side, the contact raw and urgent as a drawn blade. She lingered a fraction too long, then unlocked him. "Sophia," she called softly, "I'm cutting him loose." "No," Sophia snapped. "They'll slaughter us without backup." The chains clattered free like freedom's bell. Jack massaged his chafed skin, then fished under the mattress for his Henry repeater 6 rounds chambered, slim odds, but workable. "How many?" he asked Sophia. 3, 4 tops." She was ice under pressure, her paws blood true. "They've got the place ringed." Jack cocked the lever. "Or so they think." He pried a loose plank from the rear wall, one he'd fitted 2 years ago when solitude bred madness after Emily's passing. Beyond lay a crawl space he'd excavated in those endless, grief-soaked winters. "Storm cellar, 30 feet out. Links to the shed. If we hit it." Another barrage riddled the front, the hunters growing restless. Mia pressed against him in the cramped tunnel, her body soft and warm amid the dank earth smell and buried fears. Sophia trailed, her breath measured pro. They burst out behind the shed as fat snowflakes swirled down, veiling trails or betraying them on the whims of the wind. "There," Sophia pointed at a shadow by the cabin lights. "Victor Kane," Mia said, her tone glacial. "He's the one who gutted Pa." "You sure?" "I saw it happen." Jack eyed her silhouette in the gloom, the delicate jawline, the resolute lips. She was stunning, like a Mustang. Wild, untouchable, unforgettable. Then this is blood debt. Everything out here was. The blizzard swelled, wind lashing snow like vengeful spirits. Jack glimpsed the hunters advancing on the cabin. "They'll clock our escape soon." The blast severed his words dynamite through the window, erupting his home into shards and inferno. Heat licked at them through the flakes, intimate as a betrayer's kiss. Mia gasped, her hands seeking his in the chaos, fingers weaving tight small, fierce, quaking with fury or dread or unspoken fire. "I'm sorry. Your place." "Just timber and nails," Jack grated, but his throat knotted. Not just a house simile's echoes, the hearth where she'd hummed, the bed of her final sighs. "All ash now." Sophia's touch on his shoulder was firm, oddly tender. "We'll even the score." Jack met her eyes in the blaze's glow. She was a force, feral as a cougar, radiant as dawn over the peaks, promising heaven or hell by her whim. "No," he said. "We'll teach him the cost." Kane's bellow pierced the tempest. "Torch the shed. They ain't far." Jack's grin was feral. "That's your mistake, pal." He guided them into the squall, toward the uplands where a local could vanish armies, let alone a pack of greedy gunslingers. Behind, his history burned. Ahead, a path etched in powder and passion, in a volatile gap between right and retribution, where souls vanished as swiftly as bullets. The upper pasture above Jack's spread had been his refuge since Emily's grave. Now, it'd host carnage, snow blanketed thick, muffling echoes and smudging horizons ideal for the grim work. They'll track us, Sophia noted, vapor pluming in the freeze. Bank on it, Jack said, inspecting his rifle with practiced economy. Mia, you recall that old claim shack up the slope? She nodded, eyes mirroring the pallid drifts, even bundled in her frayed jacket, her poise making Jack's pulse race unrelated to altitude. When a lead flies, he went on, you bolt. No glances back. No. Her voice was iron. We lit this fuse as one. We snuff it as one. Sophia smirked, briefly youthful. Pa always pegged Mia as the bull-headed one. Wonder from whom? Jack locked eyes with Sophia. They hunkered behind a toppled spruce, its girth a bulwark against slugs. Jack centered, the sisters as flanks like a falcon span. The thrill of joint peril, synced breaths, pounding hearts laced with budding bonds. The killers ascended the path, cocksure as ever. Victor Kane fronted, his duster billowing like raven wings. Two more flank-scarred thugs with vacant stares and trigger-itchy paws. Harlan, Kane roared across the field. Final offer. Cough up the girls, and you fade free. Jack's reply. A Henry slug that spun Kane's brim into powder. The fray spanned 14 minutes by Jack's watch 14 of blazing muzzles, shrieking metal, crimson on pristine white, the sort of brutality that sifted survivors from stiffs. When the dust settled, one hunter sprawled lifeless in the banks, another dragged toward timber, trailing scarlet. Kane stood, but his shooting arm dangled limp, pulped by Sophia's pinpoint fire. Done, Kane, Jack yelled. Beat it. Kane's laugh grated like gravel. Kid, this is a prelude. There are warrants on these broads from Missoula to Texas. Every badge, every trigger pull, every scumthiel hunt endlessly. Maybe, Jack stepped out, but they won't hunt solo. Kane's mug twisted comprehension, or terror. You'd waste your days on 2 border tramps? The slur hung heavy. Sophia inhaled sharp, lethal. But Mia flashed first, her derringer materializing with lethal elegance. The round punched Kane's chest, felling him to the frost where he fit. My name, she said softly, is Mia Rivera. Etch it. Kane gurgled blood, then the cold claimed him. The pasture hushed, but for Pine's size. Jack regarded Mia not the scared kid who'd bound him, but the woman who'd slain for kin's dignity and vengeance. Fierce, exquisite, like a blade that severs deep and true. Ain't over, Sophia reloaded steadily. Moral swarm. Let him, Jack said, eyes on Mia, who returned the look with vows and ventures. A man's weary of solo shadows. They interred the fallen in scant pits, spring floods to unearth not holy rites, but raw soil for rotten souls, the Highlands' gift. Trekking to the wreckage of Jack's cabin, Mia's hand slipped into his instinctive as dawn, vital as air. The silver, Sophia queried. What's the play? Jack pondered Emily, oaths honored and shattered, clinics undreamt, lives unredeemed. Forge good from it. And us. Mia's query was fragile amid the gale. Jack halted, facing them. Sophia, blaze fierce. Mia, thawgent leguo mending his fractures. Stay. Not a plea. Spring thawed early in Montana that year, exposing scars of loss and gain. They rebuilt the homestead as a trio, logs from straight-grown firs and peak dirt. Sophia wielded the adze masterfully. Mia handled seals and mud with finesse. Jack drafted the blueprint, laid stones, his steady grip clutching more than sorrow. Carlos's silver Jack's silver, tainted trove-funded grandeur. a clinic in booming Billings, healers tending sans queries on history or hue. Pod approve. Mia, said one dusk on the broad veranda Jack crafted for 3 rockers. She wore a fresh gown, green as prairie grass. He'd fetched from town the sway, still unsteadied his grasp. Sophia, ever pragmatic, oiled her revolver by lamplight. Pod cheer our joy more. You joyful? Jack asked. Mia's reply, her fingers threading his, the seamless weave of dawn days and hushed eves. Sophia's, a rare grin endorsing the man her sibling dare believe. They altered identities. Jack Harlan became Jacob Rivera, sealed by the territorial judge. Silver, it seemed, unlocked gates, guns merely smashed. Nights, when wolves wailed timeless tunes. Jack recalled Cain's taunts of bounties and endless chases, lives forever fugitive. But then Mia stirred beside him Abed, or Sophia chuckled from the stove, and he'd grasp the core. Atonement wasn't wiping slates, but erecting worth atop wreckage. The frontier tamed, grew mild, but essentials affection, fidelity, guts to reboot stayed savage as sin. What do you think of Jack's choice to throw in with Sophia and Mia foolish risk or rightful redemption? Drop your take in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stance and thoughts on how you'd handle that kind of betrayal and bond.